Greetings. This is story 6 of The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros, and this chapter is called Our Good Day. Now, Esperanza meets two new friends, or should I say she buys two new friends, named Rachel and Lucy. Rachel and Lucy are sisters, and even though Kathy tries to discourage Esperanza from associating with these two who she says smells like a broom, Esperanza goes and buys a share of a bicycle with the two girls. Just $5 buys her a share in this bicycle, and $3 belongs to her, and she borrows $2 from Nenny to get this bike. The girls are pretty poor, Rachel and Lucy. They're pretty poor based on the description of how they're dressed, but there's just something about these girls that Esperanza likes, and you know, even though she's at risk of losing Kathy as her friend until Tuesday, you know, Esperanza likes these girls, and it's kind of easy to see why, because Rachel and Lucy are more like Esperanza than Kathy is, you know, as far as looks and attitude. So it kind of makes sense that she would gravitate towards, you know, friends that were more like her, and plus a little more permanent. Kathy is leaving soon after all. But Rachel and Lucy have no pretenses like Kathy does, who has to lie to make herself seem even better than other people, to lift herself above others. Kathy lives in a rundown house just like the other kids do, but her family refuses to believe that they're socially on the same level as the Latinos that are moving in now. Rachel and Lucy are from Texas, and they don't really have a good command of English grammar based on some of the things that they say. For example, Lucy says her was born here instead of she was born here. Esperanza notes that the girls don't laugh when she tells them her name is Esperanza, you know, and that kind of makes Esperanza feel good too. The girls work out a plan as to how, you know, they're going to share the bike, but today, on the first day that they've gotten the bike, they all want to ride it. So after a little fight, all three ride it together. So Lucy's pedaling because she has the long legs, Esperanza's on the seat, and Rachel is sitting on the handlebars. They ride around the block, past Esperanza's house, the corner store, past lots and lots of parked cars, and they just laugh and have fun on their good day, you know, just all about being young and having fun. Story 7 is called Laughter, and this chapter is about how alike Nenny and Esperanza are, despite Esperanza's earlier thoughts of how annoying Nenny may be. Esperanza says that even though they don't really physically look like sisters like Rachel and Lucy, when you look at Rachel and Lucy, you can tell that they're related, that they're sisters, but you can't really do the same with Esperanza and Nenny. However, they do share the same type of laugh, and I like the way Esperanza uses a simile to describe their laugh. She says it's all of a sudden and surprise, like a pile of dishes breaking. That's different. That's a pretty interesting description, but I think it works. They also have like-minded thoughts. Like one day, Esperanza saw a house that reminded her of Mexico, and the other girls couldn't see it, so they kind of started laughing at Esperanza. But Nenny saw it too. You know, Nenny said that she was thinking the very same thing, that, you know what, that house looks like Mexico. So they have more in common than Esperanza thought. So, story 8 is called Gil's Furniture Bought and Sold, and it's basically talking about a junk store. Okay, so in this chapter, Esperanza and Nenny, they go to a junk store owned by an old black man, apparently named Gil. Their family had actually bought their refrigerator from this junk store. The store is very cramped and dusty, and the owner, and this is kind of funny, the owner doesn't turn on the lights unless he knows that you have money to buy something, so it stays dark in there. Yeah, it's kind of funny. But I don't know, I'm laughing because of the comment that Esperanza makes about it being dark. Since Gil is a black man, he's dark, obviously, because her comment is that when it's dark inside the store, you can't even tell that somebody's there, you know, until you see like these gold rim glasses floating in thin air, which means that he's dark like the dark store. So yeah, you can't really see his face. just think that's funny. I don't know. But Esperanza is nervous and quiet every time she goes in there. You know, she never really talks to the guy at all, except for one time when she bought a little Statue of Liberty statuette for like $1 or something like that. But yeah, that's the only time she ever spoke to him. But Nanny, on the other hand, she is very inquisitive. She's full of questions. And she asked the owner, Gil, about a music box that she wants to buy. Now, it isn't for sale, though. But Esperanza is embarrassed for no real reason, because when she heard the guy said, oh, it's a music box, when Nanny asked him about it, you know, she turned around real quick thinking that it was going to be like a beautifully decorated box with a little ballerina inside, you know, the cutesy-wootsy music boxes. But when she turned and saw it, it was just like this plain wooden box. No decoration, nothing. She didn't really want Nanny to think that she was stupid for expecting something so pretty. So that's why she was like, I just turned around so Nanny wouldn't see me, you know, expectantly looking for something that was pretty and gorgeous. But Esperanza shows her clever use of language by using lots of similes to describe the music emanating from the box. And I'll just read you that little excerpt from page 20 in this version of the book that I have. She says, then he starts it up, and all sorts of things start happening. It's like all of a sudden he let go 1,000,000 moths all over the dusty furniture and small neck shadows and in our bones. It's like drops of water, or like marimbas, only with a funny little pluck sound to it, like if you were running your fingers across the teeth of a metal comb. So I thought those were, you know, a lot of really cool similes, a lot of comparisons that she's making to try to describe something to us. And it shows her developing sense of language here. You know, so she's gaining strength, she's gaining power in her descriptive use of the language. Now, story 9 is called Meme Ortiz. Meme Ortiz. And this chapter describes the new neighbors, at least the boy and his dog anyway. Meme's real name is Juan, but only his mom calls him that. Everybody calls him Meme. Just as Meme has 2 names, so does his like gigantic floppy sheepdog. But Esperanza doesn't tell us the dog's names, which is kind of weird. The duality of the names here, though, reflects the duality of the cultures that Esperanza lives in. The English culture and the Spanish culture. You know, those that can't pronounce her name correctly and pronounce it like tin, or, you know, and make her feel ashamed of who she is and where she lives. And then the flip side, you know, those that accept her for who she is and who can pronounce her name smooth like silver. Anyway, Esperanza describes Kathy's house in detail because this is the house that Meme moved into after Kathy left. So, you know, the house, it's, you know, based on Kathy and the way she acted, the way Esperanza described how she spoke and how she acted, you'd think like they lived in a really nice, you know, really nice house, well built and stuff, but it wasn't. Amazingly, it's just as crooked and run down as everyone else's house in the neighborhood. It's probably worse than Esperanza's description of her own house. You know, but too bad the family's attitude was not as humble as their own home, you know, with its lopsided floors and crooked stairs. You know, Kathy even once told Esperanza that the stairs were made crooked on purpose so that the rain would slide off. Yeah, okay, I'm sure. Yeah, right? But the funniest thing about that whole situation is that Kathy's father built that house. You know, so if they're supposed to be related to royalty and all this great and upstanding stuff, you know, wouldn't they have a better house? Wouldn't he have, you know, better skills to build a better house? You know, so it's stuff like that that's a little hypocritical, I guess. But it's really just all a shame that Kathy and her family had that kind of attitude when they really didn't live any better off than the Latinos that scared them off, that made them move more north, you know. But Esperanza describes a huge tree in the backyard of Meme's house. And from here, she can see her own house. And every once in a while, she'll just mention like something about her house, and it's always negative. You know, it's always negative. This tree, though, I think this tree will always be remembered in these kids' minds when they think back on their childhood, because that's where Meme broke both of his arms. The kids, they invented this game They called it the first annual Tarzan jumping contest. And apparently, Meme just was so enthusiastic. He wanted to win this, which he did. But in the process of winning this Tarzan jumping contest, jumping from this huge tree, he broke both of his arms. So yeah, that's why I say I think they're forever going to remember this tree. And that's story 9.